Here's Jason Steyer.
I don't need it for that anymore.
What's up, everybody? This is Steyer here, King Loan Boss, coming to you recorded from the great state of Texas. Sorry I could not be there with everyone, but my wife is traveling. Got to take care of the kids, and they got to take care of me. And so, family first always, right? So, what I thought I would do is record this, and hopefully you guys get some usefulness out of it. But first off, thank you to everybody who came and took the time out of your away from your families, your business to come and learn in that room with everybody in that room. Thank you to Jay and Michael Fisher and all the presenters for taking time out of your business and sharing your words of wisdom. And it takes a lot to put this event on, man. So buy those guys a beer, buy them a chicken wing or something. A ton of things, but let's get right into it. What they've asked me to talk about is video and a couple of items within the video that I feel like are extremely important to me and hopefully are important to you as you're finding your path through this business and what we're doing here in Military Warriors Boot Camp and the message we're trying to get out. And the third thing is finding your why. And I think everybody has probably hopefully listened to that video that I did with Fisher and Jay earlier this year. If you haven't, it's recorded, you can find it. We'll talk about a little bit about that as well. But let's talk about video. Obviously, I'm on video, right? And I do a lot of videos, and whether they're live or recorded. And so I've taken what I feel like the top two things, I want to share this with you briefly today. But number one, I want you to write this down. Okay? Number one is content. People always ask me about content. Where do you find your content? So I'll give you some ideas about content. Okay? Number one, your surroundings of where you watch content. Right? There are nonprofits, there are stories, there are news stories, there's all kinds of things you can take from and weave into your videos. Okay? So, find what's going on in your own cities, right? Veteran nonprofits or military nonprofits or whatever it is that you're trying to shoot that video about. Okay? Your daily life in the mortgage business and all the content really you probably need. There's some crazy shit that goes on in this business. Crazy ass stories that you're going to hear on all these things that you're part of, whether it's MMBC or whatever you're part of. I guarantee you found some crazy crap that goes on in there. Okay? So take those stories, right? Because if you're taking a story from someone else and using it to better someone, take that video content, you're sharing a story. The story is what needs to be told. Okay? Don't feel bad for taking a story that maybe, let's say Alex is in Tennessee, I'm gonna tell that story here in Dallas-Fort Worth. Because the fact of the matter is AJ doesn't care. And number two is you're gonna help somebody in your own city. We're AJ's city. We're all here for the same reason. We're all here on the same mission, and we are one team and one mission, and we need to do those things. Okay, so don't feel bad for that. I get Facebook messages all the time, text, where, hey, can I borrow this? Yeah, what do you got? You can have. Right? So if anybody says otherwise, well, you're one for yourself. That's my opinion. Okay? So there are no original ideas anymore. I'll give you an example. My good friend Tim Davis, who was the National Sales Pitch for Movement, and I was there for 3.5 years. Tim was an integral part of making me who I am, standing right here before you. Okay? And the post that I put out in the morning, today's truth, that's a derivative of the daily difference that Tim put out. It's just my personality. Right? So make it you. Make it your personality. Okay? And don't try to be someone else. Be you, but you can always use all that content. We are here to share it. Okay? So that's number one is the content. Right? Number two is the consistency. So the content doesn't mean shit if you don't have the consistency. Right? Michael Fisher and Jamie Bacon have taken time to write out these rules and recon scripts. And I know Mark Hughes was a part of that, and there's some other folks. But if you consistently post those videos, okay? Let's say, here's an idea, do it every Friday. Right? Most of the business cranks up for the weekend, right? So everybody's not open houses. If you take that and post that on Friday, and all these road reviews and all those things like that, and consistently do that every Friday, you're planting the seed in their mind that if they come across it better over the weekend, they're really better with all of you. It's simple, subliminal information, right? Just have to be consistent. If you do a video one time, 2 months later do another one, that first video didn't get shared. Doesn't matter, you just wasted your time. You gotta do it consistently. When I first started doing this a year and 9 months ago, I bought into the system and started doing it every single week. It took me 60, maybe 90 days, maybe, probably more 60, to build that momentum, to build myself as an authority. That's what we're here to do. You want to be an authority in your trading space, right? Not just doing video. That video has to have purpose, right? Information, and build yourself as an authority, right? So consistency is always the key with anything, right? And discipline. Make sure you discipline yourself. Calendar reminder, whatever you got to do to get it done, right? And don't make excuses for yourself. That drives me crazy. Just do it, okay? So those are my two highlights as far as video goes. And the third thing that we talk about is you gotta find a why. And for me, my personal story, the video's out there for you guys. I'll give you the 35,000 foot view. When I came across Jay Fisher when I did this, I was in a bad place. Suffering from being in a depressive state because the business was just eating me up. I was tired, and I had it. And I'm tired of being everything to everybody on my street. And I had some soul searching to do, and it was either find something bigger and better than myself or get out. And we have such a tremendous opportunity to impact the lives of people doing this, and that's what drives me. And when I came across Jay Fisher, and they helped me along with 10 days to bring that out in me, it forever transformed my life. Not just my business, my life. My wife, my marriage, my kids, how I interacted with people, got me out of my proverbial shell, and gave me a purpose in life. So here's what I want you to do. Before you leave that room today, I want you to write down your why. I want you to take out a piece of paper, write down your why. You can share it with people, you can choose not to, but we are all here for a greater purpose. And my purpose is to serve the veteran active military community in any way that I can. And when I put my own ego aside, and trust me, we all have them, all that changed. When I bought into the system, I had the guidance of Fisher and Jay, and good, bad. The first video I ever did was terrible. It was awful, it sucked. But I did it anyway. And I got positive feedback, I got negative feedback, we're all perfect. This is not perfect. But me standing before you here today, teaching you and helping you hopefully take some things that we do here and transform not only your life, your business, but somebody else's, is a powerful tool. So, thanks guys for your time. Again, soak up the knowledge in the room. By now you've heard Andrew's Roger that story with Mikey, and it's one of my favorite stories ever. And I've taken a Roger that mindset and integrated it into my business and my life and how I teach my kids. Right? So there's so much knowledge in that room. Soak it up. Enjoy it. I hope everybody has a great time. Alex, I hope we keep everybody's ass at go-karts. Sorry I can't be there to take the title.
Third place.
But everybody have a great day. Enjoy your time. Thanks for having me. Talk to you soon.
Don't talk about it.
Stop.
You ready, Rick?
Hold on, one quick second, before we break your mind, you got the clicker? All right, couple of housekeeping items. If you have not paid your MMBC fee for this event, please give a fish and pay, because I would hate to hunt you down afterwards. Right? What else do we have?
I'm going to talk a little bit about the resources for the group in any UI presentation, so we'll go back over to that.
Okay.
As far as today's event, I know a lot of you guys are flying at 3-ish. We're going to try to get you out of here as quickly as possible.
Who has flights? What's the earliest flight?
Today, like,
Who has flights at 3 o'clock-ish?
Carson.
Okay, so you come in late and leave early, fuck.
Am I here? 6 minutes. Thank you. Good to see you too, buddy.
Okay,
So we'll probably go down that path then, because most of you are gonna stay, we'll try to wrap up at 2:30.
Mike, I'd like to do like an hour or two at the end today.
That's not related to class.
Add that in.
That's more than likely.
What he means is like 30 seconds. He always promises hours.
So, let me just, real quick, so, while, I want you to really think about what Jason Steyer said, and think about your why, okay? Because what I'd like to do is have you post your why in MMBC alumni. Write that down. So today, for Jason Steyer, I'm telling you, has come so far, and he's like I said, he's just a poster child. He's everything you want in an instructor in MLO. He's what all you guys want to be. I promise you. Okay, but he's right. His first video sucked. I mean, it was. I couldn't believe it. He had his feet up on the desk like some oil baron frat kid. I'm like, what are you doing, dude? It was like, stand up, And now he's just an absolute boss. So much so that's his new personality, the BA boss. You're going to create your own personality, your own why. But I think the thing that motivates Fish and I, and Andrew Paul, and Rick, and Jim McMahon, is when we are able to turn around and teach and then watch you guys go through it. That fires me up, man. That fires me up to keep going. It does make me emotional because it makes me believe that we're making a difference.
We are.
Thanks, guys.
So I know Steyer feels the same way. You can kind of see he got choked up a little bit in the video. So let's all show him respect and go in MMBC alumni by the end of today and put in your why and tag Steyer. Yes?
Hey, can we wait to put in your why in written, because I was actually going to have them do it in video, which is the next part coming up after.
Oh, yeah, no, totally. That's a great idea. See, that's why we all have a why. Like, this is Captain Branding over here. Good job.
And that's the last thing that I'll add before we get right out here. And I told many of this over the phone. The power of the community in MMBC is more powerful than any one of us. So, us coming together at events like this, sharing ideas as we drink coffee together, socializing a little bit, engaging, making connections, watching each other. A lot of the best ideas that we shared throughout the day are ideas that didn't come just from us. They came from us watching other LOs, attending other events, hanging out with people, being part of the community. So that being said, Rick's one of the great leaders of our community. We appreciate his time today. And we knew we wanted him to talk, but we couldn't figure out exactly what we wanted him to talk about. We said, you know what, Rick just knows how to make money. Let's just let him talk about that.
Yeah.
Because he does it in a way that's authentic. And he knows how to spend his time wisely, and he's going to share a lot of those tips with you today. Something like that? Something like that.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Rick Moore.
Okay, everybody stand up. Everybody stand up. Give yourself a little space and put your arms out like this. Don't hit your neighbor. All right, now go like this. Go like this. Go like this. This. All right, that's good. I'm done. Thank you. Now, all right. Hey. Hey, before I forget, I was going to enlist in the Marines, but I failed the physical. I couldn't fit my head in a jar, Jay, so. That's the only Marine you and I got. All right. So, I don't know about you guys, but I'm somebody that, I'm not from Missouri, but I love their, that slogan. They say, the show me state, you got to show me. And so, whenever I see like a speaker come up here, anytime, any event I'm at, I always ask myself the question, and maybe you do too, like what qualifies that person to speak about the topic they're going to talk about or whatever it is. Does anybody ever think that, ever? Okay. And I've met people that read stuff in books, right? And then they come up and talk about it, and you can tell they don't know what they're talking about. Or I shouldn't say that. Let me take that back. They don't have that real life experience sometimes. And so I always promise myself if I ever got invited to speak in front of the group, which by the way, thank you, Jay, thank you, Fish, for pushing me out of my comfort zone and getting me in front of the group, okay? That's when you grow, when you step outside your comfort zone. But anyways, I always ask myself that question. And so what I'm going to do today is kind of talk about and tell you my story, because I think people relate to stories, right? We're all real people. Jim McMahon yesterday, and by the way, you always try to take something from a presentation, at least one nugget. One of the things that Jim talked about was he said he rewrites his journals from years ago, right? That's a great idea. I always, after a meeting, when I get on the plane, I rewrite my notes so it's fresh in my mind. Because when you're taking notes, sometimes you scribble, and you got to get it while it's fresh in your mind to rewrite it, and then you can remember it later. But that idea was awesome. How about anyway? Just you always pull these nuggets. And so, and the other thing I learned is when somebody presents, if they do a bad job and they made it, I know I can do it, right? If they do a good job, I'm like, wow, that's something to aspire to. So either way, whichever way I go today, just realize that you could do it too. So anyway, that's my family up there, by the way. I'm from Colorado. Well, let me rephrase that. I live in Colorado, but I got southern roots. I'm from Virginia, right? Grew up in the D.C. area. My dad and his family's from North Carolina, so we're Tar Heels fans. So anyways, you guys ready to jump in? I move kind of fast. Sometimes I skip around, but just as long as we end up in the same spot, we're all good, okay? All right, check this out. So back, does anybody remember when you're old enough to know when you graduated from high school, you did those pictures, they made you, like I literally, in the summertime, you go in shorts and a white shirt. They throw that jacket and tie on you and you smile. Look at that hair in the middle. Like that's 80s for sure, okay? Give you an idea how old I am. Anyway, that's me. And then I dabbled a little bit, thought I was going to go to college because here's the deal. I was that kid that my dad was a DC cop. And my dad's like, you're going in the Army. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not, and I should have listened to him earlier. So instead I said, no, I'm going to go to college because all my friends were going to college. He goes, good luck with that, right? He goes, you're paying for it though. I'm like, okay, no problem. So about a year and a half later, they invited me not to come back. Because my grades were sucking, and I was chasing girls and drinking beer. I'm just being honest, right? That's all I cared about. But then I'm like, you know what? This is getting me nowhere. And I went back to my dad, and I said, you know what, Dad? You're an old codger, but you were right. I'm just going to enlist. So I enlisted February 14th. Somebody said February 14th yesterday in one of their talks. Was it Jay? Yeah, that's the day I enlisted. So anyways, I shipped out, and we didn't have cell phones back then when I was in. So in basic training, they take your mug shot, and then they kick you out to your unit, right? And then, fast forward to when I got in the mortgage business, when I had less gray hair, okay? And it happens like that, guys. I remember all those details, and it just flies by. So anyway, pictures say a lot, right? Okay. And I always tease my wife, Uncle Sam was my first love because I enlisted on February 14th, okay? And so, and I was a Cobra guy. I was a crew chief. So we kept those birds flying, and I was always in CAV units. And anyway, I enjoyed every day that I was in the service. I did about almost 8 years, came stateside, and I got divorced, and not by choice. And but I always call her my practice wife, right? And so hey, right? So it happens, right? And but I learned, right? I upgraded. My wife now, there'll be 25 years in December, okay? This December. So. All right, so when I transitioned out of the military, I had no idea what I was going to do. And it's real when they talk about that transition, when you go from the military life to the civilian life, it's like, what's wrong with these lollygags, man? These people, people are growing their hair out, their shirts are untucked and stuff. It was a whole new environment for me because you get used to that military life, right? You get used to the discipline. You get used to getting up early. I don't know if you ever get used to that, but it sticks with you, right? But anyways, so my first job out of the military, I worked at MCI, a call center. Anybody ever worked in a call center? Oh, Lord. Okay. So MCI was a big telecommunications company back in the day. And it was $5 an hour plus commission. I got out as an E6. I was a staff sergeant. So I made rank pretty quick for peacetime. Like that, it doesn't usually happen. So I knew how to get to where I wanted to be. So when I came to MCI, some people say $5 an hour plus commission. Man, how did you survive? Well, for me, it was all about, like, I knew how to follow orders. That I knew. And so when I went to MCI, I realized misery loves company. Everybody was bitching about everything, the phone calls, because it was cold calls every single day. And so I stayed away from those groups. That's one thing I did learn. I got away from those groups, and all I did was do what they told me to do. And I was the number one guy. I tripled my pay when I got out of the military career, which wasn't saying a whole lot. Do you guys remember when you used to get those Social Security statements and it showed you how much you made every year? Right? You got to go online to get them now, right? But the last year I was in the military, I made 18,000 something or other. Like, it was crazy. So it wasn't hard to triple.
As an E6.
Yeah, as an E6, right? So E9 is the highest enlisted rate. Anyways, so that was my first job. Anyways, I started at the bottom, and I worked my way up. I ran the call center. And so, and I didn't run it into the ground. They did shut down on my birthday, September 3rd, 2004. But it's because all the do not call laws, right, that was coming out there and stuff. And everything was getting outsourced to the Philippines and India. So I got everybody in the building a job, and then my wife looked at me and said, you need a job. So I said, oh, yeah. I don't know what it is. They always want to eat 3 times a day, right? So anyway, so I took another call center job. I built that Westwood College in Colorado Springs, and I got sick of call center work. And a lot of my buddies kept calling me. I live in Colorado Springs. It's an hour south of Denver. And a lot of my friends went to Denver to get a job at selling software. And they kept calling me like, Rick, you got to come, you got to come. I'm like, I don't want to do the commute. But I got sick enough of sometimes when you get sick of something, eventually that causes you to, I got to do something different. So that's what it was. I took a job selling software. They put me in a territory. Listen to this territory. Southern California, not bad to visit. Washington State, Alaska, Hawaii, and then they gave me Kansas and Wisconsin. Really weird. But I'm like, how did they even come up with that? It's like, anyway, so I did it. I took that territory, and that's where I learned the face-to-face stuff, right? I sat kneecap to kneecap with Fortune 500 CEOs, CFOs, CTOs, and that's where I learned how to talk to those folks a little bit differently than I talked to Joe Snuffy Private, right? And anyway, so that was that. And then, long story short, I traveled all the time, and my wife said, you got to find something where you're not on the road all the time. I said, yes, ma'am. Happy wife, happy life. So I found a job at Infor, another software company in town, and it was an inside sales guy, so I was still doing phone work, which I knew. So I did that, took that job. I was there 6 months. We had the number one team in the country, and they said, hey, we're going to move this operation to Minnesota. You want to come to Minnesota? No offense, Steve. I said, hell no. It's too cold. We're not going there. And anyway, so then a buddy of mine that worked for me at MCI when I was a supervisor, just my first promotion, we stayed in touch. He was a sales guy. And he got into banking business. Then he got into mortgage business. Then he had his own mortgage company. Then the meltdown happened. And then he brought, so that brings me to my mortgage career. So then he brought Envoy Mortgage to Colorado Springs. I don't know if you ever heard of that company. But he brought them there, and he goes, Rick, when are you coming? He used to call me all the time. When are you coming to the mortgage business? And I finally said, you know what? I was building these businesses for other folks, right? And I said, you know what? They really don't care about you, the corporate world, right? They just don't. It's all about the bottom line dollar to them. And so I said, hey, I'm going to do this. And I said, let me ask my wife, right? I'm just being honest, guys. You know, that's how I've been married for 25 years. I got to run it by her. But I already made my mind up. I just needed her to say, yeah, go do it. So I went home, because you start, right, at $0 every month. There's no salary in the mortgage business, and I was not used to that. I always had a commission job, but I always had a little bit of something. So it was a big leap for me, but anyways, I did it. We started Envoy Mortgage. They priced themselves out of our market. So we went to a bank, Heritage Bank, out of Georgia. They got bought by Renaissance Bank. They started taking control back to Mississippi, where Renaissance Bank is. And we said no, and then we found North Point Bank. I've been there a couple of years. So that's my story. That's how I got to where I'm at right now. All right. So this is production. I only put this up here because you don't know me, and I just wanted to, so I started out the first couple years in the business about 50 loans a month, or not a month, holy cow. So, sorry, a year, sorry. And I was actually, when I got into business, so my wife had a career too. She worked in the hospital industry. And anyway, so she's like, listen, you need to play Mr. Mom now. So I drove the kids to sporting events and all that stuff. And so I kind of dabbled in the business, and I did about 50 loans a month, a year, okay, the first 2 years. Sorry. Then I got serious because my son got his driver's license. I'm like, yes. So now I can actually kind of start doing something. Anyways, and I'll talk about that here in a little bit. I did 125 deals, or family served the third year. I did 215 the year after that, 261 the year after that, 252 the year after that, but it was at the exact same production level as far as volume. This year, at the end of August, 190 families served. I was 10 off my goal because I'm shooting for 300 families served this year, and I'll be north of 75 million this year, okay? So, and guess what? I'm not one of these guys that have been in the business forever, right? So who's newer in the business? Who said they were kind of newer or just getting started? It can be done, right? Do not listen to the people that tell you it can't be done, or you got to do it this way. Nah, I don't listen to it, okay? All right, so, and by the way, these slides are for me, so there's really not a whole lot of, there's small text, but it's for me to remember what to talk about. So just remember, it's really about your message. It's not so much about this. And I know as I get better in my presentations, I'll put less on there, okay? Anyways, so how did I go from that second year of 50 to 300 families in 5 years or less, right? So for me, ever since my children were born, I always raised them up, and I said, hey, we're going to have a motto, and the motto is wards never quit, okay? And so for me, I could not look my kids in the eyes and say, hey, stop whining, stop crying, here's what we're going to do, here's how you fix it, and really do it with conviction when I wasn't doing it. I wasn't living up to what I knew I could do. So the light bulb went off to me, and yes, my son got his driver's license, but for me it was more than that. I'm like, man, I got to stop doing that, right? So you got to show and not just tell. Everybody, take your hands like this. Go like this real quick. Make a circle up here. Okay, take that circle and place it right here on your cheek. Okay, now stop. Okay, who put their circle right on your chin? All of you did, most of you, right? It's because people will do what you do and not what you say. So I could not, that came back to that wards never quit. I'm like, come on, man, Rick, you got to show your kids, not just tell them, right? So that's what it was for me. And by the way, if you haven't noticed, I'm a sales guy, right? I'm sorry, that's just, and I hate, some people say that's a dirty label or whatever, and yes, we're in the mortgage business, but it's a people business, it's sales, okay? And so the stack rank matters. So for me, I remember in the first 2 years seeing those stack ranks in our sales meeting, and it used to eat me up, like it really did. But really, nothing really changes until you get it inside here and say, man, I got to make a change, right? And so I didn't like to lose. That's the bottom line. We keep score for a reason. We do, right? And so you don't play a game. I hated my son was in a YMCA league, and like everybody got a trophy. They didn't keep score. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I had to change that. But anyways, that's just me, and that's not a knock on the YMCA because we're members. But anyways, the other thing I realized is that we're paid commission, right? And commission means that you're paid for performance. If you don't perform, you don't get paid, right? So performers, what do they do? So these are things that I was telling myself. And so, and what I also realized is that how you feel on the inside, it shows on the outside. I can go up to somebody and get a good idea of how they're feeling. You ever get a phone call from your friends, or you call them and you can tell what's going on? They're in a good mood or a bad mood just by talking to them, right? So same thing. I knew that I was doing that. And then the other thing is, if I took your right arm and tied it to the side of your body right here, just tied it up for months on end, you lose what you don't use. Like literally when you get done, your arm would just be hanging there really. You got to learn how to reuse it, right? And so I had to remind myself that too. Those first 2 years I was in the business, I was just coasting, okay? So next point here is that it's always up to you. So I think Jim was talking about that, but just remember that, like, have you ever heard somebody say you got to pay the full price to get the full price? Because I've said it. But I changed my perspective in saying, listen, really, you pay the price for failure. right? That's what happens. Like, you enjoy good health. You enjoy success. You enjoy all those good things, right? You really pay the price for what you don't do, right? Like I think it was Andrew was talking about no regrets, right? And so that to me was just a different perspective to look at it. And then the other thing I thought was that, you ever heard that story about the two sales guys are sitting at home with their families, and one guy's sitting there, and it starts pouring rain. And man, he gets up and he looks at his family and goes, oh man, they can't expect me to go out and make any sales today. So he stays at home. The other sales guy gets up, he's sitting with his family, and it starts pouring rain, and he's like, man, he goes, it's going to be an awesome day. He goes, everybody else is going to be staying home. It's going to be a good day to make a lot of sales, right? It's true. So, like, you just have to change your mindset, really. It is an inside game. So, for me, I kind of figured all that stuff out. I said, okay, now what, Rick? So, going to the market, every lender in town is out there talking to people. They just are. And so they always talk about rates and programs and service, right? So, for me, I'm like, okay, I got to put things in a different perspective, just sound different, okay? So I came up and sat down with my team, and we came up with 4 H's, okay? And for me, those 4 H's stood for, the first one was that we're hungry, okay? Hungry people do not forget how to hunt. Like, you see these, like, I always joke around with these. By the way, I work at a bank, and we don't have walk-in traffic. Like, there's no brick and mortar there, okay? So, but these other places in town that have the brick and mortar that, you know, tout they're the number one in the city, I always laugh at those guys. I'm like, of course you know, you guys got 1 billion members, right? You know, whatever, right? So don't forget that. The first one is H is hungry. And the other thing about being hungry is that you don't take contract deadlines as suggestions, okay? Hungry people get things done that other people don't do, okay? So we wanted to be that group, and so that was the first one we came up with. The second one was that we are honest. It's crazy you have to say that, but I saw it in the business in the short time I was in. Not everybody's honest, are they, right? You get those mailers, just the stuff that's out there. And so we just said, hey, we're never going to tell you one thing to your face and do something differently behind the scenes, right? And you always do what you're going to say you're going to do. So that was the second H. The third H for us was that we're happy, okay? People are miserable. Like, in general, like a lot of times, in a general sense, life is tough. And so when they buy a house and they come to get a mortgage, they are, it's stressful, right, for them. Whether you think it is or not, because we live it every day, it's stressful for them. So I always tell my people, and I always try to make sure that when every phone conversation, even if it's bad news, you leave them with a good taste in their mouth, right? Just remember that. And sometimes you just have to smile when you're talking on the phone, and it comes out different, right? It really does. So that was the third H. And by the way, happy isn't just for our customers, it's for the team, and it's for my support folks. We never beat them up, ever, right? They're your team. You got to build them up. So happy with them. We always do support appreciation days on my team, and I'll go in, whatever it is, whatever we decide to do, we do it often, because they are the ones that will get you over the finish line more times than not, right? So remember that. And then the fourth H was that we're humble. I'm still learning that from people like Andrew, who I think is the most humble person I've ever met. And I love listening to him. But what we don't do in our community is we don't tell everybody how great we are when we meet them. We just show them how great we are in our actions and how we treat people. So be humble, and good things happen to those people that are humble. Okay? So the 4 H's. Goals. So, do you guys write your goals down?
Yes.
Most people don't. I'm telling you, they say they do, and then they forget about them. But we write our goals down, and it's not just my goals, it's the team goals. And I revisit those team goals every single quarter with every single person on my team. And when I do that, it's not about, like, the goals are not just business related. You got to know what their personal goals are for those on your team, right? Because they really care what's in it for them, right? They really do. And I care about what's in it for them. So I'm helping them achieve their personal goals, even if it means they're going to get promoted and get off my team, right? Sometimes that's painful, but you got to do it. You look out for them, they look out for you, okay? So I got crystal clear on our goals. Okay, now, and funny thing is, when you have those goals and you write them down, by the way, my goals are on my mirror in the bathroom. My wife hates it, right? She's a neat freak. She goes, those look so stupid. I said, nobody's coming in our bathroom. If they're in our bathroom, I need to know about it, okay? But, right? So, but I see them every day and I read them, and like it's fresh in your mind when you get after it. It's right there. So, and what you focus on and what you think about all the time tends to happen, right? So just remember that, okay? And Jim touched on this the other day. He said, don't major in the minors. I said, don't major in the minors. He talked about focusing on the things that get you the biggest results. That's all that means. So I hired folks on my team that do the things that I don't like to do. I don't have the talent for, right? And so when I hire those folks, it takes that off my plate. That has to happen, but it also frees me up to spend more time doing the things that generate revenue for the team, the 6 people that I feed, that I help feed. I take pride in that, right? And then the company, keeping the lights on. So anyway, don't major in the minors. You got to focus on the big stuff, okay? You good with that? All right, next one. So I learned a long time ago, too, you throw in pictures that, just to break it up. So that's my baby girl, Alexa, 1990. Look how dark my hair is there, by the way. It's not just the lighting. Yeah, and she had a head of hair, too. Anyways, that's Alexa, okay? And that's me, Heidelberg, Germany. You ever had a baby on a German economy? It's totally different than when you're in the U.S. Like, they didn't make me put anything on. They're like, oh, the baby's coming. I'm like, oh, great. I didn't have nothing on. Like, and they said, you want to cut the cord? I said, hell no. But I should have, right? Because she's still on my purse strings. Anyways, all right. Just, whatever. All right, so I got those things straight in my mind, and I said, okay, now what? I got to keep things simple. I'm a simple person. I try not to overcomplicate anything. And remember that your clients, besides the engineers, tend to like things simple as well, too. They like the easy button, right? And so anytime I evaluate a business or my own business, there's 3 P's that I look at. It's the people, the process, and the product, okay? Everybody's got product. Everybody's got a process. You need to know that stuff. For me, it's all about the people, right? The people is where you need to focus. And in general, it's the people that you meet in your business as well. So I always know that people like to do business with people they know, they like, and they trust, right? Have you ever heard that? Okay, so what's good about that is that it's simple stuff, right? So I said, okay, how do people know me? Why do people like me? I don't know, right? And then how do you become a trusted advisor? So that's what I started focusing my business on. Oh, there's more pictures. They grow up fast, all right? There she is. So my wife's a Yankee. She's from Pennsylvania. That's at some restaurant up there where they had this horse out there. I'm like, whatever. That's great. I'm hungry. Let's eat, right? And then those of you who know me, I like to eat. And then you never tell, though. If I turn sideways, you might not see me, right? But and then the daddy-daughter dance. Okay. So how do people get to know me? So that's the first thing I was talking about, right? Know, like, and trust. So I'm not a marketing guy. So you can find anything on Google, right? Google anything. So I Googled marketing, different tactics, not tactics, but what kind of marketing is out there. I got a list of 52 different ways to market. I'm like, holy cow, this seems hard. So I'm reading through the list, and I found one that said telemarketing. I said, whoa, ding, 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 ding. I can do that because that's my background, right? And I always think that, like, the quickest way to the top is, it's not always like a shortcut, right? You got to climb the stairs to get there, right? But why don't you start with something that you know, right? And so that's why I picked telemarketing. And so I'm like, okay. And by the way, telemarketing is the great equalizer because they can't see you really, right? And so with this face, I had to do something that worked, right? And so I chose telemarketing. And by the way, I already had a cell phone, so it didn't cost me anything, right? So that's what I did. So I said, okay, now what do I do? Okay, so who do I call? And so I went to my title reps, and I said, hey, I need a list of every realtor in the city. And I also need to show, because they're always in your office, aren't they, trying to get you to use them, right? I said, okay, I need a list that shows me everything they sold on the buy side and the list side. And I got that list. And when I got the list, then I segmented it out with whales, right, the guys that were the big producers or gals. And then I did tunas, kind of middle of the road. And then I did tilapias, the ones that do real estate as a hobby, okay? So Right? So I segmented that, and then I friended all those people on Facebook, Instagram, started following, connected on LinkedIn, okay? Because here's a good best practice is you want to get in front of their face before you even get there, right? So I started doing that. And then the other thing I did was I asked the realtors that I was already working with if they knew somebody that I wanted to call and talk to. Because it's always better than whether doing a cold call to do a warm call. So and literally I'd call, hey, Amy, do you know Billy Bob? Yeah, I know Billy Bob. Great, perfect. What do you think of, do you know anything about him? Because it doesn't really matter to me what they know about him. Because people form opinions about people, and you just need to form your own. But I just wanted to learn, right, if they know him, right? So I did that, and I said, hey, would you make an introduction for me? Because I'm going to call them and set an appointment, okay? So warm the lead up before you call them. And then the other thing that I would do is once I did that, before I called, any book out there that's a business book or something that you've read, I made the mistake of sending a book before that I didn't read. But anyways, you find a book that you've read, and then you put it in a FedEx envelope, and you write a letter. And on the letter, the gist of the letter was, hey, Billy Bob, this is Rick Ward. Successful people in this industry and in our community are folks that I like to meet, okay? And so I don't know what your schedule's looking like, but I'm going to be calling you next Tuesday to see if I could set up an appointment with you so we can talk shop, or whatever you want to say. And then the other thing I said is, and by the way, I thought of you when I read this book. Chapter 3 talks about whatever, and you say whatever, and you short and sweet, and you FedEx it. Costs you more to FedEx it than the book, right? But people open FedEx packages, don't they? Everybody does. So you open the package, they get it, and I'm going to tell you that early on this didn't happen, but as I've done it over time, people call you before you say you're going to call them. They're like, oh, wow, that's awesome. Thanks for sending the book. Hey, are you in front of your calendar? Believe it or not. And what I don't want you to do is assume that just because somebody's a top producer, they're happy with their lender. It happens all the time. It's timing. You never know. Don't make those assumptions. Just go into it like you're the best thing since sliced bread, right? You have to. You know how I know I'm the best? Anybody? Because I tell myself every single day, like I read those goals. I do, right? I mean, I'm bulletproof when I go in those meetings. I am. Literally. Now, if they pull a gun out and shoot me, yeah, I'll bleed and die. But that's not what I'm talking about. But it's not whatever they say, it's not going to bring me down, good or bad, however this thing comes out. Because you're stepping outside your comfort zone, right? Those of you that are introverted or just maybe not, and I'm introverted, believe it or not. I really am. When I leave work, you know what? My wife and I just hang out. That's all we do. We don't want to go to dinner parties. We don't do any of that crap, okay? So, it's not crap. It's not crap. But anyways, so I send that book and I make the call when I say I'm going to make it, right? If I said I was going to call next Tuesday from 1 to 3, I make the call. It's already in my calendar. You block it off and you make sure you do it. And I make the call, and I'm assuming that they're going to meet with me every single time, and the meeting's going to go great. When I get on the phone, if I want them to say yes to something, I'm going like this when I'm on the telephone. I'm shaking my head, okay? Because you sound different and it comes out different. But anyways, I call them. I set the appointment, and here's what I would tell you about those phone calls. Do you think everybody's going to want to meet with you initially? No. All right, so you have to be prepared for that. Remember how Jim talked about memorizing scripts? I memorize scripts. That's what I spend hours doing that, and I don't have to think about it. When they say this, I say this. When they say that, I say this. It just comes out naturally, and people say, I don't want to read a script. I just off the fly. I'm off the cuff. That's crap. Like, who likes the movies? Anybody? I love movies, okay? So, and you have a favorite movie. Mine's Braveheart. I love that movie, right? But when you watch movies, and these guys and ladies get these Oscar-winning performances, guess what? They're scripted. They didn't make that up, right? So just remember that. You get a script and you memorize it, but then you make it your own so when it comes out, it doesn't sound like a script. But anyways, I memorize those scripts. I assume the appointment, and I get the appointments. Period. More times than not. Okay? And here's one tip. Whatever the reason is why they say they don't want to talk to you or they don't want to meet with you, that's the reason why you called them. Okay? I'll give you an example. I already have a lender, right? You ever hear that? Right? Well, that's why I called you. I know you have a lender. It's easy. That's it. Well, it's that simple. So I'm sitting in front of my calendar. Literally Tuesday or Wednesday is probably going to work best. How about you? Like, I just assume it. I don't know if you heard me. I got a lender. Well, of course you do. You're very successful. All successful realtors have lenders. But listen, sometimes your lender goes on vacation. Sometimes your lender may not do this or do that, right? Why don't we just talk? And by the way, if that never comes to fruition, I still want to pick your brain because you're successful, right? You got time for this old veteran, right? Make a joke out, right? That's it. Then I book the appointment, okay? All right. And then once you book the appointment, you got to do your homework before you get there. I search them on Facebook, their website, Google, LinkedIn. I look everything I can about them. Because when I go to the meeting, like some people say, okay, what do you do when you get to the meeting? I don't know what to say. And I'll tell you what most lenders do. And I know it because I meet with realtors every single day. There's not a day that goes by I don't have an appointment. Not one. And when I do, I'm telling you, I've been to coffee shops and there's other lenders in there with realtors and I hear them talking about their products. Well, let me tell you about this and like, and I love it. Well, I'm like, yeah, you keep doing that, okay? You keep doing that, right? So, but I talk about, and I use this FROG or Ford acronym. You guys heard that before? Yep. Some of you have, some of you haven't. Okay. So, FROG stands for Family, Recreation, Occupation, and Goals, right? That's what you talk about, those things, right? It's not about your service. It's not about you. It's about them because people care about themselves more than you think they do, okay? And they think about you a whole lot less than you think they do, okay? So, and then FOR stands for Family, Occupation, Recreation, and Dreams. It's kind of the same thing. So, and it's self-explanatory. It's not a checklist when you're talking to them, okay? You got to keep this in your mind, right? I've taught this to some folks, and they go out there, and I kind of watch them from the sun. They don't even know I'm there, and I'm listening to them, and it's like a checklist. It's like, but it just got to be a natural part of the conversation. Who doesn't like to talk about their family? Like, really, that's what people do, okay? We love to talk about what we know, right? Recreation is what do they do when they're not working, right? Occupation is, we know what they do, but I always ask them, what'd you do before real estate, okay? Tell me about that. I want to learn more about what brought them there, okay? To hear their story. And then their goals, because you want to find out, like, I don't want to work with somebody that says, hey, I'm getting ready to retire. Okay, great. That's awesome. Right. So you got to ask them what their goals are. So, and you're going to know if you're a fit when you have those meetings, right? You're going to know if that's somebody you want to work with or not. So anyway, that's what I do. Okay? And then listen, you got to have a call to action. You can't be afraid to ask for the business. So literally after that meeting, when they've said all that, by the way, all this stuff I've learned from other people. Okay? It's not original. So, but I'll ask them and I'll say, hey, so I know why people like to work with you. Like, it's obvious to me, you do this, you do all the stuff they told you. So I would just, if any chance possible, I would love that opportunity to work with one of your clients. Say, we're never going to treat them wrong. We're going to treat them right. We got a 4-H philosophy. We kind of go down that road, right? Anyways, and when I'm doing that, I go like this. I'm nodding my head when I'm talking to them. It's like the subliminal things, right? Nod my head. So can I ask you a favor? And people like to help people. They go, yeah, sure, right? And then I say, hey, I said, the next one you get, would you give me a call and let us put this in action? Because, again, we like to show, not tell. And they're going, yeah. And then I shake their hand. And it's all about, a handshake, you got a V to V, right? And you're looking them in the eyes, right? And you say, awesome, that's going to be great. Thanks, man. I can't wait. Awesome. Okay? That's it. Okay? So, did I do that? What the heck? Okay. Baby number 1, they grow up fast, right? My daughter played Division II basketball, Colorado State University, Pueblo, Division II. And then she became a flight attendant anyway. So now she's on my team, by the way.
Okay,
all right.
tell the flight attendant story.
The flight attendant story.
Grab that guy out the plane.
Oh, yeah, no. That wasn't her.
Oh, I thought somebody said that was your daughter.
No, people, that's an urban myth. Okay. She worked for United. Yeah, the guy that got choked out and all, dragged out. Everybody thought it was her. So anyways, it was not her. But don't get me wrong, she could. She could, for sure.
Still got her on MLS?
Yeah. All right. So that was another thing I did for people to get to know me is I started teaching classes, okay? So in your community and in your skill set, you have to look for the niches and the things that you know. What do I know? I know phone calls, telemarketing. And I don't know about you, but do you guys have realtors that, buy Zillow leads, Realtor.com, Trulia, all that stuff? And they always say, it doesn't work, a lot of them. It's crap, right? Well, that's not true. It is just not true. Literally, when that happens, it's because you don't know how to convert them, right? So I found a niche. I'm like, I know how to convert leads. So I developed a class. I called it Connecting with the Lead, and that's what I did. I started teaching that class, and they were eating it up because they always want you to spend marketing dollars with them when you meet those people that are spending that money. Hey, you want to go in and market with me? And I was like, no, not really. No, I didn't say that. I said, how about this, though? I said, how about if I help, so how much are you spending on your leads, right? And they'll tell you whatever. I said, okay, how many leads you get a month? 100 leads or whatever. I said, how many of those people you get to talk to? And, it's a low number, right? Or they never pick up the phone and this, that, and the other. Okay, great. So how about this? If I help you double your conversion rate on those leads, will you send those leads to me if I help anything I teach you to help you convert those leads? And what do they say? Yes. Right? Because I'm going like this when I'm talking to them. Perfect. I'm going to come in and teach a class, and that's what I did. And guess what? They were spending that money with his other lenders and sending me their leads. It was awesome. Like, it was great. It was great. Like, I love it, man. Right? So so you got to do that. Then, November of 2016, I got connected with Jay and Fish. I don't know how I got connected. I think it was somebody in the office that joined this group. And I said, okay, I joined it. Found out there was an event. I said, let me just go to this. And I'm telling you, like, when Jay and Fish got on stage, remember how I told you, like, when somebody presents, if it's good or bad, and they're making it, you can do it? No, just kidding, just kidding, guys. They fired me up. I'm like, man, these guys are cool, right? I like this. Oh, and they're talking about veterans, what? And we can help them? So I was one of those guys at the back of the room. As soon as Jay was on, I'm like, hey, how do I sign up? Right? And it's funny, we were just talking about this. I got audited on my 2016 taxes, and I had to call Fish and say, you got that receipt from when I paid for that? He's like, oh, let me look. And he sent it. Yeah, so anyway, so he sent it to me. But anyways, and I'm literally, I signed up, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but I'll just talk about it now because Jay brought it up the other day. So I'm like, and I need you out to Colorado Springs to help me do this class, right? And he's like, all right, whatever. And we booked it, and these guys were busy. And I had to keep calling them, and because they're busy. I get it. We finally nailed it down and said, how about this date? It was like February, I think we did it, of 17. And to this day, I've only done that one class, I swear, okay? But people recognize me as the VA expert in Colorado Springs. Veterans United is there, and they do a ton of business. But they don't call those guys if they're just out there, the realtors and stuff, because nobody really likes to work with them, right? So they call me. So it really only takes one time. Now, I'm not telling you to do that. I think there's a lot of fruition and that comes from consistency.
Let me interject with you for a second.
Yes.
Because this is intricate to your presentation.
Okay.
He is very introverted, contrary to what he's doing right now. Okay? You take him off of this pulpit, and you guys spend time with him, he's very introverted. But what you are is a master scripts. What did we do for 2 days?
Well, yeah, so Jay flew out. Well, I brought Jay out, and we sat there in his room, and we did the script. Practice over. He goes, no, Rick, do it again. Do it again. Do it again. Do it again.
Like Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
And it was literally, you're the actor for my movie script.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
and what did I tell you yesterday? To this day, he still had the best performance of any instructor I've seen. He nailed it because that's his thing is scripts and telemarketing. Maybe it's yours, maybe it's not, but like Rand said, all these successful people keep saying there must be something to it.
All right, thanks, Jay. Very good point. All right, and then the rest is the history with that. I'm telling you, I get phone calls all the time. Hey, I heard you're the VA guy, right? And so that's really all it took. Okay, the other thing is that I teach is social media. Do you guys know Steve Green? Anybody know that name? I'm telling you, that guy, like, I heard, I hope he doesn't mind I'm sharing this, but anyways, so I heard somebody from in that group said, hey, you got to go get this guy's social media stuff. And I don't know squat about social media. As evident, you could go look at my page. I'm really not good at it, but I'm doing something with it. Anyways, I went and I heard he's like in a small town in Alabama. He's getting like, I forget what the number was of applications every day. I'm like, holy cow, let me go. So I went, and it took me probably 6 months, and I went back like 2 or 3 times to get the material again and again. Again, I'm slow. I got to read things 2 or 3 times, but it sinks in eventually. So once I got it, I started teaching that. People in this community think I'm a social media expert. And it's funny because some of you guys are awesome at it. And if you looked at my stuff, you're like, what? This guy don't know. Well, he ain't nothing, right? But they think I am, right? Because I teach the class. That's it. That's really it. And I teach what they taught me. And that's it. And I don't have to, you don't have to, on that particular class, I even tell them in the beginning, hey guys, I'm not a social media guru, but I went to learn it from somebody who is, and I'm going to teach you how to fish. That's what I tell them, right? And then they do it, and then I reap the rewards of it, right? Because I taught them something and taught them how to bring in business. So if you don't talk to somebody here, they'll hook you up with Steve Green. All right. And the last thing I would just say is anything that helps a realtor grow their business, that's what they care about. That's what you need to focus on. I go to realtor events not to meet the realtors, just to learn what it is that they're dealing with and how they're trying to tackle it. Then I go back and I craft my message and I craft what the solution is based on what I can deliver to them. And they love it because you're not like every other lender out there talking about rates, product, and service. Okay? Does that make sense? All right. 1998, my boy Jacob comes along. They're like, hey. All right, that's 1999 though. But anyways, another picture. All right. Networking events. So I told my wife when I was really going to start to build this, that she's not going to see me as much. I'll still be in town at least. And she was cool with it. I got the green light. So I started going anywhere that realtors and veterans were. That's it. Like, you want more business and you want more leads, go where the business is. You can't do it sitting at your desk. Don't be shy, guy. Get out there and do it, okay? And be yourself, and it'll come. Anyway, so I started going to these events. Chamber of Commerce in your area. We got a Home Builders Association of Colorado Springs. I started going to their events. Women's Council of Realtors. I saw that and I said, I like ladies. And I said, that's all right, right? So I went to that, and I was like one of the only guys there. They're like, you notice the Women's Council of Realtors? I said, is there any rule that the guys can't be here? They said, no. I said, I'm here, right? So B&I groups, PepNet, prospectors, those are all leads groups. Leads groups are only as good as you make them. I hear people say it's a waste of time. That prospectors group that I got into, and by the way, I had to interview to get in, they interviewed 7 lenders in the city. They chose this skinny guy from Virginia, right? And that's the oldest one in the city. Like Perkins, like all the local business owners that are big time in Colorado Springs are in that group. So I was raising my level of who I was hanging out with, right? Not that there's anything bad with the folks I was hanging out with, but when you raise that level, guess what happens? Your loan amount goes up with these people. They buy bigger and better houses, right? Nothing wrong with that, is it? It's the same work. So that really helped me a lot. So look for those opportunities, okay? Association of United States Army, I joined that organization, became a corporate sponsor. And the key with that group there is that you go to the meetings, you go to the board meeting, you go to all that stuff, but I just look for the opportunities to volunteer. What do they need? And that's where myself and my team go. And that's what we do. And I don't ask for business, it comes, okay? DAV, VFW, stuff like that. Fundraiser events. You guys ever go to the fundraiser events? Go to them if you're not, right? Again, and make a donation. Sometimes it hurts, right? You may not, oh man, early on, I remember, but do it. It's the right thing to do. So go to those things and make a donation, okay? Warriors First support group. Man, I stumbled upon this group. I was at a coffee shop and it said Veterans First Coffee. I'm like, oh, I love it. I'm going in here. And there was a guy in there. I met him at the counter there, and I don't drink coffee. I got a tea, whatever. And I started chatting with this guy, and he started talking to me about these veterans that are struggling when they get out. They're getting into trouble. They're going to jail. They can't find work. They're homeless. He goes, this group here, he goes, we try to support those guys and build them up with the fellow brothers that made that transition successfully. And he said that. I'm like, hey, can I participate? So every Saturday, I go to the coffee shop. They bring those guys in, and we just talk to them. That's it. Just talk. Sometimes that's all they need, okay? So find something like that. Mount Carmel, that's another one in my area. It's a big veteran support group that we love going to and helping those guys. I will say this, the key to success at some of those events is find out who's going in advance if you can. And then if you know somebody there and there's somebody you want to meet, make them make the introduction. because third-party credibility is much better than anything you'll ever do, okay? So keep that in mind. And then I always get to the events early, and I stay late. Because a lot of times the real networking, the real brain power stuff happens before and after, not during. Because people are putting on a facade, right? Hey, how's it, whatever. Like that's what they do, okay? So keep that in mind, and that's it, networking events. Jacob, he's getting old. He got older, right? He's actually going to University of Colorado. He's studying to be a mechanical engineer. He's my introvert. My daughter is not. Have you guys, anybody in here met my daughter? Jay, you haven't yet? Okay. All right. All right. So we talked about how they know you, right? Now we talk about how do they like you. And if I go, I'm trying to stay on track, but hopefully this is good content. All right. So do they like me? So I don't know if they like me, but I will tell you this. Has anybody ever read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People? Okay, read it again. Read it again. And again, and again. That's right. I love that book, and it's so easy to read because the guy gives you stories. People like stories. And so I just pulled some stuff out of here that I really think is important. It is better to be interested than to be interesting. Like, and I know people say that, but have you ever met somebody when they leave the room, it brightens up? So I don't ever want to be that guy, right? So when I go into these meetings and I'm meeting these folks, it's not about me, right? Remember the frog and the fort, it's all about them, right? I met a guy one time, I'm not kidding, and all I did was ask him a couple questions. He talked the whole time. And then this was on an airplane. And because you're captive audience, you're sitting right there. I'm like, oh, I just wanted to sleep. But so anyway, talking. Afterwards, the guy said, hey, he goes, by the way, I'm coming to Colorado Springs to buy this Jaguar from this guy that, in the city there, that whatever. I said, who you buying it from? He told me the guy's name. And I said, oh, I've heard that name. He goes, Les, guess what? He goes, give me your business card. He goes, I'm going to introduce you to the guy. So he literally did. He introduced us. That guy's bought 5 homes, and who does he use? Big Rick. Okay. So anyway, and I didn't talk at all. I just listened to the guy. Okay. Smile. We talked about that. You got to smile at people. Everybody's got a story. I saw a Chick-fil-A training video one time. You ever been to a Chick-fil-A? Anybody? Those kids are usually well-mannered. They're pretty good at service for fast food, right? They don't ask you, hey, here's your number. They ask you for your name, right? Can I top off your beverage? My pleasure. I'm like, man, these kids are good, right? And so, but I saw this video one time, and it showed where, how they train these kids. And this video is like people coming into the restaurant. And there's this couple that walks in, and it says, hey, this family just found out that the wife has breast cancer. This family, comes in. This couple here is deciding what are they going to do. They got a second kid on the way, and they can't afford the first one. Like just stuff like that popping up, right? And it just reminds you that everybody has a story, right? They do. And so you just don't know how much a smile goes, right? Like how much that can carry with someone. Smile. Even when business is tough, just smile. It's okay, right? Even if you got messed up mug like mine, just smile. It's okay, right? All right. We talked about the handshake. I'm going to say this, and you take it for what it's worth, but do you know the one day in school that the principals see the least amount of kids in their office? It's picture day. And why is that? Because kids are usually dressed up if they tell their parents and they remember. They dress them up in their best stuff. You act different when you dress up. You just do. You go to an awards banquet and you got to dress up. You act different, right? You might be a little stiff, but you act different. You're not doing your usual crazy stuff like AJ, okay? No, just kidding. Right? Listen, like, I just think you dress for success, and not that I'm some great dresser, but just remember that, and you do what you can. But even when I work from the house, I get up and get dressed, and I don't make these calls in my underwear. Because then you act different. You slouched up, you got your hand. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. All right. So, you use their name often. You heard that from friends, How to Win Friends and Influence People. People love their names. Like, you could be at Disney World, and somebody could get on a foghorn and say, Jay! And, like, millions of people, Jay's going to look, right? Hey, that's my name, right? People love their name, or we're programmed to hear our name. So just make sure you use their name. Don't talk shop unless they bring it up. I just never do that. And then, I talked about the homework. I like to mirror people's language. Okay? This takes skill. You got to be a good listener. You got to pay attention if they say things, like you say something, and if they say, I see what you're saying, I say, well, of course you see what I'm saying. I mirror it, right? Of course you see what I'm saying. I'm a visual person too, right? I like to have it in my hands and look at it and get my eyeballs on it. Like you're mirroring their language. When they say, well, I hear where you're coming from. I said, I know you hear where I'm coming from. Right? You see a trend here? I know you hear where I'm coming from. Once I hear something, it sticks with me. I'm an auditory person, right? You say things like that. If they say, oh, I'm not feeling it or whatever, I said, oh, I have customers that didn't feel it in the past also, right? Like you're just mirroring what they say, but pay attention to their words because they're giving you clues on what kind of learning style they have, what their buying styles are. So pay attention to that. That takes skill, okay? Practice. All right, every time I have a meeting, I literally go out into the parking lot, I grab my cell phone, and I just do a quick video. Hey, Billy, I just want you to know it was awesome spending some time learning about your family and how your kids go to University of North Carolina, go Tar Heels, whatever, right? You say whatever, and then, hey, I'm looking forward to working with you, and that's it. It's a 10, 15-second video, and I send it to them. Not everybody does that. I promise you, they don't. Do it, okay? You got to stand out, okay? I take notes, and then when I get back to the office, I put it in my CRM, because you don't remember everything. Do not use your head as a filing cabinet. Especially the older you get. It gets foggy up there, okay? All right. And then I always send a gift. So I got Amazon Prime. I love Amazon Prime. And I send a gift of something I heard them say. So I had a realtor. I was talking to him one day, and he's like, hey, my wife and I are going to Florida, Destin. We're going to buy a condo. We can't wait. And I knew they like to hike. I got back to the office. I just Googled up hiking trails near Destin, Florida or something. I found something similar, and I sent it to him. The guy his wife was floored. She goes, who is this Rick Ward, right? It's good stuff. Yes?
Do you just have Amazon send it directly, or do you receive it, repackage and resend it?
Well, so it depends. I usually have somebody on my team say, hey, can you look up, like, in the county records? If they got a common name, it's tougher, but if they just got a unique name, I look it up, we'll send it to that address. I haven't had it come back yet. But that's a great idea. I've never thought of that. Or I send it to their office. That's what I've done too.
Would you just drop ship it? Amazon ships it directly?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yep. Okay. Anybody read the book, Mr. Schmooze? If you haven't, read it. Get it. It's a short, quick. That guy's the master. Okay? All right. There's more pictures of my son, Jacob. There's my wife, Renee. By the way, my wife is 6 foot tall. You see how I'm standing uphill? My son is 6'2" now, by the way. Anyways. All right. All right. Know, like, and trust. Now we're to the trust part. Okay, be a trusted advisor. Jim was talking about this as well too, right? And so it's always about the value you bring and not about what you get from them. So I steal ideas from everybody that I can find it from. Everybody. And most people will help you. A lot of people will help you if you just ask. Here's something I did. I went to an event one time with a bunch of top producers, and I identified 4 or 5 that I liked. And I said, hey, and I went up to them, I just shook their hand and said, I know you get a lot of this, you're going to hear from a lot of people, but I'm going to call you. Can I get your business card? They gave it to me, and they had their address on it. I literally took out my checkbook and wrote a blank check. Like, I literally said, and just signed it, and I mailed it to them, and then I called them after they got the check, and I said, hey, I know your time is valuable. I want you to fill that check out, right, for whatever amount you say your time is worth, because I want to pick your brain for an hour. Nobody cashed the check. Nobody. But they all gave me time. And to this day, those are people that I can call anytime, and they will help me. Okay?
Need my address?
No. All right. Become a student of the business. Everybody knows that. You got to know your stuff, right? I'm not like the mortgage guru, but I know VA loans, right? And I get calls from people all over the city. Hey, I heard you guys could say this, you could do that. Like, I'm Superman. It's crazy. So anyway, but I am a student of business. I carve out time every day to read a guideline. Every single day I read a guideline. And guess what? I don't do that during production hours. Don't do that. You sharpen the saw after hours. Those are the folks that get ahead when it's the work they do after work that really matters. Okay? Do not do it during business hours. Okay? If you want to be a trusted advisor, you deliver results. Everybody likes to work with a winner, right? They do. So and if you're not there yet, that's okay. You can get there. I got there. Anybody can get there. Seriously, deliver results. Execute flawlessly. I had somebody on my operations team say this one time. Oh, we're not dealing with life or death here. It's just they're just buying a house. And I said, that's like a pilot that says, hey, I land the plane, most of the time, about 99% of the time I landed okay. I'm like, it only takes that one time to ruin your reputation and to not do what you got to do, miss something on a checklist. It's like, execute flawlessly, guys, and that's what I try to teach my teams every single day. All right, be prepared to write a personal check. One of the first deals I did, I had a realtor call me up, said, hey, Rick, I heard, you got better rates or whatever she said. Yeah, okay, great. Let me, thanks, whatever. I called a client. I got the deal, and I have this spreadsheet that I show like 4 different rate options so they can compare, kind of like a total cost analysis thing. I sent it to this guy, and I said, hey, let's go over this. I want to make sure you understand your options and blah, blah, blah. He's like, I bought many houses. He goes, I want this rate option right here. New guy, and this is $1 million purchase for me. I'm like, okay, let's do it. Lock the rate. We get 3 days before closing. He gets a CD, initial CD at least. This one came in hot. I had like 2 weeks to get it done or whatever. I got this thing out to the guy, and he calls me up and he goes, hey, what's this $4,000 discount point on here or whatever? And I said, well, yeah, remember I said, and I started to say that, I stopped. I said, you know what? I said, we didn't go over that. I said, because I could tell this guy was not the way he said it. And I said, you know what? We didn't go over that. I said, here's what I'm going to do. We're going to close on your loan. I can't take it off, but I'm going to bring that cash to the closing table and give it right back to you because you weren't aware of it. That was painful. That was really painful for me because $4,000, I think I had like $6,000 at that time in the savings account. And but I did it. I went at closing, and we went to lunch afterwards. I gave that guy that cash. It was funny. We're in a restaurant. People think we're doing a drug deal or something. I'm like, I'm like, what the hell? But you gotta guarantee and stand by your word. Your reputation's everything. That guy after that has done 7 deals with me. 7. So it was worth it to me, right? It pays off. Be available for your partners and clients. How can they trust you if they can't get a hold of you, right? I mean, that's just my philosophy. You don't have to like it. And I made that decision before I decided to do that I was going to do that. Because we're empty nesters. My kids are out of the house. Yes, sir.
Y'all, I'm blown away by Rick Ward right now. I guess, holy cow, man, amazing. And I just want to tell you, I have sent probably one of my closest personal badass brothers for a loan to Rick. And so because of that, we were on the phone quite a bit. And I just want to tell you something. Every single time. This guy does, how many deals have you done this year so far?
Well, more than 190, but this month's not over.
Deals. Anyway, anybody does more than that, I'll give you $5. Here's the deal.
You don't need it.
Yeah. Every single time I call him, he answers the phone. Every single time. So none of us are busier than that. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay, I'm going to kind of skip. Never eat lunch alone. I don't break bread alone. I go to lunch every day with a referral partner. Every day. And I look at my calendar for the week, and it's all scheduled out, and I go to lunch with somebody. People, when you eat with them, they bring those barriers down. It just bonds you. Go to lunch every day. Don't be a stranger, right? What's that? DNA, baby, DNA. Hey, I had to gain weight to join the Army. You know how Andrew says $150? That's me. Just stretch it a little further. So, all right. Let's see here. All right. Oh, and then let's talk about this, diversifying your referral sources. This is big. So become a trusted advisor. I'm like, okay, if all my eggs are in one basket, I'm doomed. Now, I get the majority of my business from realtors, but I said, I got to go out and find some other referral partners. Well, does anybody in here do refis or ever did, right? Okay. When they save money on a refi, it's all in your scripts and your words on what are they going to do with that money, right? And so I said, I need to find some financial planners that are good, that have a great reputation to refer them to. And so I went out and listen, they get calls too with people trying to sell them stuff. I call those planners and literally what's in it for them is what they care about. And the message was this: why don't we meet? I said, I do refinances, and these people are saving $200, $300, $400 a month. And instead of them just turning right around and going in more debt, why don't I send these people to you so that they can invest their money and then build something that's better for them and their family? I don't know if we're a fit. I say that right. I don't even I said, I don't even know if we're a fit, but let's meet and let's see if we match up eyeball to eyeball, right? And then let's go from there. And that's what I did. I work with 3 of the top financial planners in the city just from that. And I only took one guy first, and he introduced me to a couple others, okay? Attorneys, people get divorced, right? They do, so you could go that route. insurance agents. Here's an idea for insurance agents, guys. Do you guys ever get anybody you pull credit and they got bad credit? I get a ton of those, okay? All right, so when you get those people, insurance agents, like, rarely are they sending you anything back, right? But help them out anyways. So what I've started doing was when they have bad credit, right, and they always complain, oh, I don't have the money for credit repair. Yeah, you do. I'm going to connect you to my insurance guys. Call these people up. I guarantee they're going to save you money on your insurance, right? And that money you save is the money you can use for your credit repair. Okay? Those insurance agents out there, they love me. They love me because I'm getting anywhere from 5 to 10 apps a day. So I send them a lot of business. Okay? Develop a referral list of all things house related. Does everybody have that? Okay, you have to. You want to be their resource for all things home related. Okay? Soldiers that PCS, they don't know anybody in the area really except for their new unit, their new buddies, right? And they're counting on them to trust a referral, but they don't know either really. So why don't you just go ahead and develop the list, and then you got to call them. I call all my clients 4 times a year. 4 times a year. And I'm checking in. And when I check in, you know, I'm in my CRM, I got notes about the family, everything, because I can't remember everything. So I'm looking, I see it, then I say, hey, I said, you know, how's the house, whatever it is. And then I said, listen, we want to be all things house related to you. So if you need a painter, an electrician, a landscaper, and I list them out, or every time it's different, 3 different things. I said, let me know, because I know all the good people in town. And I've already vetted them, and they're going to treat you like family like we do. And I'm telling you, more times than not, they'll be like, oh, hey, you know what? We were just talking about painting the house. Well, great. Let me have you call my guy, Dimitri, right? They call him up, they connect him, they do great work. Who do you think Dimitri sends everybody he needs to? Me, right? So build that list out, and it works. And you got to make the phone calls and ask the questions, though, to get it, okay? And then success is something you attract, and you don't have to chase it. Because once you start developing and get it and people see it, they want to be around you. They want to be a part of something bigger than them. They do. Every time. I do. Like, I'm always looking for, you know, how can I be better at what I'm doing? And that guy or that gal's doing it, I want to be around them so I learn. All right? All right. There's baby number 3. Anybody a car person? That's a 71 convertible Chevelle. I just threw that in there because my wife gets mad at me because I call it baby number 3. She goes, whatever. Like, all right. Man, am I running out of time? Am I? Am I okay?
7 minutes.
7 minutes?
Everything I'm going to cover, so you can take my
All right. So here's some quick tips too. So I'm going to try to get through these. My old Uncle Pritchard, tobacco farmer in North Carolina. He put things so simple sometimes, and I love that guy, man. He was just, I could sit and listen to him for hours. And here's some stuff that he taught me, and I'll probably butcher it, but it was really cool, right? He told me, Rick, you got to learn how to handle the winters. Like, what are you talking about? He said, all that means is like how to handle difficulties. He goes, because guess what? When does winter come, right? After the good seasons, right? He goes, and difficulties always follow opportunities, right? He said, but you got to learn how to weather those storms. He said, because if you weather those storms, he goes, and it only comes from experience, time, going through it over and over again. And when you learn how to weather those, he goes, you become wiser, stronger, and better. He goes, Rick, learn how to handle the winters. He goes, oh, and the other thing he said is don't wish for less problems, just wish for better skills. Make yourself better. I'm like, oh, this guy is smart. Okay. Second thing he told me was learn how to take advantage of the springs. Okay. Opportunities always follow challenges, right? Day follows night. Like it just goes and goes and goes. It's going to happen. So he said, in order for you to take advantage of the springs, he goes, you got to do something with it. You reap in the fall what you planted in the spring, right? He goes, so be prepared and do not wait. Take action. If an opportunity comes up, he goes, Rick, jump on it. He goes, you'll fail a few times. It's okay, because that's where the lessons are learned when you fail. So Rick, just do it. Take advantage of the springs. He also told me you got to learn how to protect your crops in the summer, right? He goes, the bugs and the weeds are going to come, right? They're going to try to take everything you put out there. He said, that's why I put pesticide out there. That's why we weed the crops. You know, he had an accent that was awesome. I can't do it. I'm the only person in my family that doesn't have a southern accent. it's funny. All right. It's funny to me. I get ragged on all the time. But learn how to protect your crops in the summer. So how does that relate to business? I said, you know what? What that means to me is that you got to keep your eyes open and pay attention to stay in touch. You got to tend to your referral partners. You got to tend to your clients. So remember that. Protect your crops in the summer. Then he said, learn how to reap in the fall. He said, you could do everything right, and a hailstorm could come or a flood or whatever and take everything you did. He goes, don't complain. Just reap what's there. He goes, and if it doesn't happen, it comes around again next year, you got another chance. He goes, but when it is there, he goes, you reap without apology. Because you paid you did the toil, you toiled and sweated and blood, sweat, and tears. Just take advantage of it. It's okay. And don't feel bad about it. He's a smart guy. All right. Hustle. Hey, so everybody raise your hand as high as you can. Okay. Now raise it a little bit higher. And a little bit higher. Okay. So I said raise your hand as high as you can. I didn't see anybody stand on the chair and go like this, right? That's hustle. That's hustle. Okay? So, remember that, guys. Go the extra mile, get the hustle in, okay? Work with the best. You got to get a coach. I don't care how good you are, you need a coach. And so, sometimes you can pay for it, and sometimes you don't have to pay for it, right? But if you want to get better, the pros have coaches. They have coaches. So don't feel like if you've been in the business for a while, you know everything. You don't know everything. You never will. You never do. I will always have a coach to the day I die. Always. Okay? I love this one. Become customer obsessed, not competitor obsessed. People always remember how you made them feel. They don't remember what you said, but they always remember how you made them feel. Right? And often, they forget what they paid for something if the experience was good. So you want to get good and get customers? Focus on the experience. That's everything. Especially in this environment that we're in right now. I could care less that rates are going up. I don't really care. Because I put my blinders on and I do my thing and we focus on what we're doing as a team. And if we deliver better than anybody else, we're going to have business. Okay? Don't get caught in analysis paralysis. So, I remember the best thing I talked about, the best thing I ever did was that MMBC thing. I was on it. Get it. Don't wait. Do it now. When you leave this event, you better be doing an event as soon as you can. Get it done. Don't worry about if you mess something up or say something. It's just got to get it done. Take action, right? Don't get caught in trying to learn everything perfectly, because I'm not. But I get results because I take action now. Okay? And then this last part here, return every single phone call before you call it a day. So I am on the phone often, so I miss a call sometime. So I pick up the phone, right? And on my way home, I got a list, and I'm calling those people on the way home. But return it. Because what you're doing is you're telling somebody that they matter. Their phone call matters. And if you don't do it, they think, oh, you're just like everybody else. Right? So return the stinking phone calls, guys. I hate that when that doesn't happen. Okay?
Can I tag on that real quick?
Sure.
How many of you do that? Be honest. How many of you forget to do it sometimes? I do too, right? And how many of you sometimes at 9 or 10 o'clock go, shit, I need this call? Now think about this. The person on the other end, you're like, oh man, are they going to be upset? You know what I found out? They're fucking impressed. That you will not go to bed until all your calls are made. And I tell them that. I'm sorry to call so late, but I refuse to go to sleep. I won't be able to go to sleep until all my calls are returned. And I try to get to them in the order that they were called or the sense of urgency that they were. Not that you weren't more important than others. I just had some things that came to the front. But no matter what, I wanted to make sure that you knew that you were important today, so I got to you. How do you think that person feels?
Oh, it makes them feel great. And last night, when I got out of here, I went upstairs and returned phone calls. That's what I did. So, and I'm 2 hours back or whatever, man. They were like, they told me you were going to call me today. Thanks for calling. I'm like, oh, I'm in Michigan at an event. They go, man, you didn't have to call me. They'll apologize sometimes, right? But just do it. It's awesome. Okay? I think that's it. I had to fast forward through this a little bit. Now, last thing here. So I serve with Max Fergoso, great buddy of mine. He's in California. Any loan officers in California? Anybody? Or okay. So I can connect you with this guy if you're trying to get tied into an organization that gives back to veterans. Max is a big outdoors sportsman guy, and he takes veterans on hunts, fishing trips, ski trips, all paid for those that deserve it, right? And I just love this guy. I know he's the salt of the earth and honest guy. Every dollar that comes in goes back to the veterans. So if you want me to connect you with him, I can. If you're looking for an organization, I told him I'd give him a shout out because I like that guy. So anyway, that was it, guys. I'm out of time. Sorry.
Was he absolutely awesome or what? Big Lord, guys. All right, look, it's 10:30.